Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Outliers YouTube channel and podcast series. I'm your host, DP Lyle, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Kathleen Antrim.
Thanks, Doug. It is great to be here. And today is a special treat for me in particular, because he's one of my all-time favorite writers. And this is an author who's won like 30 Edgar Awards. Actually, I do believe he holds the record for the most number of Edgar Awards ever won. He's a best-selling author. He has over 30 books in print. He's an international bestseller. T. Jefferson Parker, welcome to Get to Know.
Well, nice to be here, Kathleen. Appreciate it.
We love having you here. You are just an amazing writer, and I really hope that you're at your writing desk because I need more to read. So, so as our viewers know, I kind of like to throw our guests down on the psychiatric couch and ask some probing questions. So, what I want to start with you is, how do you think being a writer has impacted your life? Do you feel that you've had, exceptional experiences because of this, unusual experiences, learned unusual things? Tell us where that may come in.
Well, when you're a writer, as you writers know, you're really kind of all in since you make that mental internal commitment to write, and you begin writing. You're it's a life, it's just like being it's as much of a life as being a shortstop and for the Yankees. It's a full-time job, and you work hard at it. And some seasons are good, and some are not so good. But it's a consuming thing, and being a writer, being any dedicated sort of person, not only expands your world because you're so devoted to it, it also shrinks your world at the same time because there's so much stuff that you can't do. So writers have their peaks and valleys and their strengths and weaknesses, and the writing life can be immensely rewarding, and it can be punitive at the next day. So it's a mixed bag, but it's a very intense mixed bag. And I don't know if I'll ever retire from writing. I probably won't, but I can imagine what it might be like to be me, the same me, and not writing anymore. I mean, it's hard to picture because writing is the only thing that I really am good at doing and that I like to do. It's the main thing I like to do. So I can't really quite imagine what it would be like to have nothing on my plate if I were not writing.
Oh, I completely understand that. Have you met some unusual people? Has it afforded opportunities like that that you may have never, been able to do or see or meet?
Oh yeah, yeah, Kathleen, for sure. I mean, the most obvious and clear example of that is the first writing job paid that I ever had, which was as a beginning cub reporter for the weekly Newport Ensign newspaper in Newport Beach, California. I had just gotten out of college, just gotten out of UCI. It took me a couple of years to get a job. I wanted to be a reporter. I told me I was going to be a reporter when I got out of school, so I could be like Hemingway, and because that's what he did. So anyway, it took me forever to find a job. Those were the Woodward and Bernstein years when every single English major and journalism major was trying to go to work for a little newspaper like I was. Finally got the job, and here I am, this 22-year-old, kid, really, in a lot of ways, just fresh out of school. And, I grew up right there in Orange County, 2 miles from Newport Beach, and suddenly I'm being tasked to write articles for a newspaper about on the Newport Beach Police Department and City Council and the Art Museum and the schools and the social life and all this stuff, and it just threw me into the world in a way that I would never, as a sort of an introspective English major, would have found myself doing if I hadn't been forced to. So the Newport Ensign taught me about what the beginnings of life. I did everything in Newport Beach. You covered every story you could think of, and so yeah, the world becomes your deal. And then when I saw, just a few years later, after my first book was published, Laguna Heat, this was 85, 40 years ago. I discovered when I started interviewing people for that book, namely law enforcement people. That story is kind of a police story. And so I interviewed policemen and I wrote along with them, and all being a reporter, and secretly working on my book. I discovered very quickly that people in general, especially police, I don't know why, but people in general like talking about what they do, and if you ask them what they do and how they do it, anybody from the butcher, the baker, to the candlestick maker will sit you down. Parker, let me tell you, and they just love talking. And I'm good at listening. I'm good at getting people to talk. I don't interrupt them. I let them go. And I learned very quickly on that the reason the cops would like to talk to me, if you're the writer, is because they have really interesting stories to tell and they want to write a book too. And a lot of them would say, well, I'm at the end of the interview, I'm working on this book, and I'd really like you to, maybe read it if you want, or give me some help, or tell me, how to find an agent or whatever. And so anyway, they want to pick my brain just like about books, and I want to pick their brains about bullets. So it's kind of symbiotic.
That's
Well,
a good.
consequently, a lot of your novels deal with law enforcement officers or near law enforcement officers, people in that world. Obviously, you write
Mhm.
crime fiction a lot, so I mean that would be the thing. But a lot of your protagonists have a lot of military background and they have a lot of police background if they're not actively in the police department. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming this all started back then.
It did, and I found the police to be easy to talk to for the reasons I just gave, and interesting lives for sure. And then ditto, FBI, DEA, sheriffs, I mean, any and all levels. I remember one day, and I was in Washington D.C. I was doing a book tour. I don't remember what book, it was a long time ago, what book I was going for, yeah, and I found myself walking past the FBI headquarters in Washington D.C. And I thought, I'm going to go see if I can talk to somebody there about the new book that I'm writing. Right? No introduction. I didn't know anybody there. I walked up. I pushed the buzzer. I went into the front desk and I said, "I'm Jeff Parker. I'm a reporter from California, and I want to talk to somebody here at the FBI about digitally refinishing, retouching photographic evidence." And they said, "Oh, okay, go have a seat. We'll get back to you." So I had a seat, and 5 minutes later, they said, "Mr. Parker, come over. We'd like you to meet Special Agent Rex Tome. He's in charge of publicity and publications for the FBI, and he'll be down to pick you up in just a minute." So Rex came down, and we shake hands and go up to his office, and I interview him all about photographic evidence, and he tells me which agents I need to talk to and where they are, and we set up appointments and stuff. And so I learned then, as a crime writer, writing about these kind of guys, is they want to control the story, they want to control the narrative, and they want to help you. I mean, the FBI has literally, I'm pretty sure, I think scores of people strictly working with Hollywood, working with on TV shows and movies, so that the movie makers can get the stuff right, and not make the FBI look bad. And so that whole world is out there for the crime writer, and I enjoy it.
I think writers are often, shy about that, about reaching out. But I think what you're
Mm.
saying is such a good lesson. People do want to talk about what they know. And, most people, you pick up the phone or just walk in like you did, and it'll be a treasure trove of information for, what you're writing about. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right.
How do
You're
you
right. It's
decide?
surprising sometimes.
Yeah. How do you decide what to keep in a book and what to leave out of the book after you've
Hmm.
done all this great research?
Yeah, what to leave in and what to take
Mhm.
out. You know, my general theory on writing a novel is that I work fast, and I don't really do much revision, very, very little, until it's done, until that first draft is done. And that's when I go back with a real critical eye, and I see what I need more of and what I could use less of. And that's when the hard editing kind of really starts. And so that's my theory. I think in general, um, I've kind of changed as a stylist from being kind of a lush, slightly word drunk, Laguna Heat kind of guy, to being a much, I think, more terse, not terse. That's kind of an attitude, but a more economical writer. I think I can say more with less words now that I'm much older, than I was. And so, my general look or outlook on the writing on the writing is that less is more, and it can be more. I've kind of followed that edict now. I like all the stuff that I can get the reader to understand and to experience without saying what it is, but I know it's going to hit him because I know I've written it right, rather than, he looked at that dark thing facing him, the circle. It was a gun. Yeah, no shit. I mean, I read a sentence like that in a thriller once, and I thought, oh my God. Anyway, I try to do stuff like
I
that.
think Elmore Leonard taught all of us to be a little more economical, but yeah,
There you
but,
go.
but it's
Yeah.
true. Well, let's talk about this,
Yes.
your latest book. And the first question I want to ask about this book is great. I just love it. The Mountain Lion. Now, here in the wilds of Orange County, we have predators, mainly human predators, but we have coyotes and we have the occasional mountain lion, and
Mm-hmm.
there's actually tales, as you know, out in Caspers and O'Neill Park where people have been attacked. Just last week, there was a guy on a bicycle
Mm-hmm.
that was stalked by a mountain lion. So I mean, they're out there.
Yep.
I love the
Yeah.
fact, and their range is huge, as you pointed out. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing how
Mm-hmm.
much ground they cover in a 24-hour period. And you had this one window shopping in Laguna Beach, which I think,
Mm-hmm.
how did that
Yeah,
come
that
about?
was. Well, I'll tell you, it came about as a lucky writer stubbing his toe on a great thing to write about. Okay, I'm 2 years ago. I'm trying to figure out a new book to write and stuff. And I'm just kind of casting around, and I've always been interested in a lot of different things. And one of the things that I've always been interested in are big predatory animals that eat men and women, and then the man or woman dispatched to get rid of the animal. I think that's a neat thing, but I never could figure out how to put it in a story. And I didn't have any bears or anything. And I want to set my story in Southern California. I always do. So I'm sitting on my checking out the YouTube feed one morning, just kind of like drinking my coffee, and they prioritize. They know what you like at YouTube. When you download a bunch of wave videos, you keep getting more big wave videos. So I always downloading bears and lions and tigers and what have you. And lo and behold, here's a video on YouTube shot like the day before, the night before. It's brand new video of a full-grown male mountain lion walking down Pacific Coast Highway in Laguna Beach, literally looking in the shop windows, And I was just flabbergasted. I thought, oh, that's what this next book is going to spin off from. And so that moment, that brief 1 minute less video was a point of inspiration for me to try to write a sort of real general terms, a man versus nature who done it is kind of what it is. It's a mystery, and did this mountain lion, do it or not? And we learned early on that the mountain lion that appears to have just killed and eaten this famous developer in Orange County out in the mountains did not kill the man at all. He simply found him and went to work getting his free meal. And so then it becomes that story, Wild Instinct becomes, it goes from a man versus nature story to a detective whodunit.
Yeah, I was, as a cat person, I was glad that he was exonerated. But the way you personified the cat in various scenes through the story was just fantastic because
Yeah.
you actually felt like you were the mountain lion and you were part of it and how they were thinking and moving and reacting. And then you had Lou Gale, of course, who actually will go out and hunt these predators that need to be taken care of because they've become
Mhm.
problematic. Like in Yosemite, they blue tagged the bears, that caused
Yes.
trouble. So
Yep.
what did you learn about those guys and the people who do that stuff?
Those guys, the heart of Lou Gale, he's a detective, Orange County Sheriff's Department, but he's also on the Orange County Sheriff's Department wild, I have a name for it, I forget, wildlife control um, team, something like that. And he makes a little extra money. He makes $74 plus change a month for being on this on-call predator control team, for doing, like we were just talking, getting rid of a predator that needs to, they think needs to be killed. And so he does that kind of for the money. And he's a regular detective. Besides that, he's 44. But the heart of Lou Gale is not really too far removed from the fact that he was, and I guess always will be, a Marine sniper in Afghanistan, in working in Sangin Valley, which was the ground zero for American bloodshed in the late part of that war. And Lou Gale was there, and his heart and soul are still there, and parts of him are still there. And so anyway, that's what guides him into the book. And so he's a detective, he's a former sniper, and he, because of his experience as a sniper, feels really substantial empathy, and if not affection, for the people, or in this case, the animal that he's been hired to kill. And so anyway, that was easy for me to feel empathetic towards animals and men, women, if you happen to kill them. And Lou Gale was, for me, an easy character to write. I understood him. I understand him very clearly. And the fact that he is one half a Hashime Indian made him even more mysterious and interesting to me. So he's a sniper, he's a cop, he's a half an Indian. His mother's a full-blooded Hashime. His father is a full-blooded Spanish American. And so his history goes deep back into Southern California, thousands of years, way before we were here, Spanish were here, his people were here, living in and around the San Juan Capistrano, Laguna Beach, Newport, Irvine, Orange County. Basically, those were the Hashime. And so when I decided to make him half a Hashime, I got an extra dose of fascinating history and reality in Lou Gale.
Yeah. Well, what I like is in that character is his respect for nature, for the creature, for what he
Mhm.
was doing. It wasn't just, I'm going to go out and kill a big cat. He had mixed feelings when he was even hunting the cat, and that came through. And I think it goes back to the Native American thought
Mhm.
processes, and I think that's coast to coast in all tribes. You take what you have to take, and you use all of it. You don't just shoot for sport.
Oh yeah, so true, Doug. That's the heart and soul of the
Yep.
native, and
Yep.
so
And that's
different.
why when they hunted from trains and killed all the buffaloes, shooting with high-powered rifles, they were incensed. They couldn't believe that these devils were coming and doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're still incensed,
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
rightly so.
yeah, rightly so. Yeah, respect for nature and everything. And one of the themes of Wild Instinct, it's right in your face, but I don't really address it, straight on language, but it's right in your face when you're reading it. And that is, the reader will quickly analyze that one of the reasons that this cat uh, ate this gentleman out out in the mountains and near San Juan Capistrano was because there are too many people around now, and the cats need a lot of room. They need that 10 miles a day you're talking about, and they're getting crowded out, very simply. I mean, it's the age old story of development that's been going on forever. And in
Yep.
Orange County, it's real blatant, and it's real specific if you've been there a while. And I moved to Orange County, Tustin, when I was 5 years old. So that was 1958. So I've been in Orange County as a thinking human being since 1958, and it has changed a lot.
Hmm.
I can see just the hills and the scrub and the big territory that Orange County is, just literally concreted over.
Yep.
There's
And I
not
moved here in
that much room.
77. I moved here in
Say what?
'77. There were actually absolutely no traffic jams in Orange County in
Yes.
1977, and
Yeah.
now it's like a parking lot sometimes.
Yes, it is. And if you're a mountain lion, you don't like that, or you're a quail, you don't
No,
like that. If you're a
exactly.
lizard, you don't like that, you know? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
I don't
amazed
know.
that there's,
But the
I'm
weather's perfect.
yeah, I'm
It
just amazed
sure
there's
is.
still so
It
much
sure is.
wildlife. I mean, that the wildlife
Oh,
hasn't just evacuated. I'm amazed.
oh, we have a
I
golf
know, me
course in
too.
San
And
Clemente
that's,
we play.
yeah,
Yeah. Our golf course in
that's the
San
whole,
Clemente, we never play around without seeing a bunch of coyotes.
oh, yeah.
And they're fearless. They come right up to you. I mean, they are not afraid anymore
This is where, Doug?
in
Where?
Orange County and San Clemente.
Oh,
We
okay.
our golf course is there that we play, and we never play around without seeing coyotes all the time. And
Okay. Yeah.
10 years ago we didn't see so many. But
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think coyote, I mean, that's an interesting point you make. I think coyotes and maybe, oh, I don't know, maybe some kinds of rodents and some kinds of birds actually like people. I mean, they thrive
mhm.
on our civilization and our buildings and our sprinkler systems and whatever, our cats
And the
and dogs,
trash.
our pets.
Our pets,
Yeah.
And they
exactly.
find a lot of food, easier food, I think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
T. Jefferson
Yeah.
Parker, tell our viewers where they can learn more about you and where they can get your books.
Oh gosh. I can get my books pretty much anywhere. Um, you can find out more about me on my website if you're interested. There's all sorts of stuff there. Um, I don't know. You could. I don't know what happens when you Google T. Jefferson Parker. They know something. Probably they probably have a lot of info. I think I'm in Wikipedia. I'm not sure. I don't really know. But as far as where to get the books, Kathleen, I always like to recommend the independent bookstores just because I've been spoiled by independent bookstores for so long. For 40 years. I got no problem at all with the big box stores either. But the smaller ones, I find my readers at the book Carnival and Tustin Orange, I guess it is, and I find them in Camino Books in Del Mar, and I find them in Barbara Peters' beautiful Poison Pen mystery store in Arizona. I'm sure you guys have been there, and so those kind of stores I always I always recommend, and there are several, independent bookstores that I always forget to recommend, and then they get mad at me. So I apologize ahead of time if I drop someone precious. I'm sure I did, but yeah, we used to have a itty bitty. Well, yeah, we used to have an itty bitty bookstore here in Fallbrook who'd carry my books all the time. I could recommend, and for years there was, a couple of really good independent bookstores in Laguna Beach that are gone now. But Laguna Beach Books is still there, and they carry my stuff. So yeah, you won't have any trouble finding it.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I'm glad you promote the small bookstores.
Yeah,
They need as much help as we do. So it's beautiful
What's
to
next
work.
for
right.
you? What are you working on now? You said you were busy writing, and you teased us a
Yeah,
little bit about where you're headed, or you'd rather keep
you
it under
know,
covers.
this is the one I'm working on now is the first book that I've kept completely undercover. So I can't say
Okay.
anything about it, not
Okay.
even a working title. I can't even, well, I'll say just one thing about it, one tiny thing about it. It's a classic whodunit murder mystery set in present day Laguna Beach. I'm working on that.
Okay.
But other than
Cool.
that, I haven't shown it to my wife, Rita, or my agent or my publisher, nobody. They just keep saying, "Where's the new book?" And I said, "I'm working on it. Leave me alone."
Yeah.
I love it. I
Well,
love
when
it.
it comes out, gets ready. We want you back. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
good,
Great
good.
interview.
I'll be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys
So
are
I
great.
want to ask our viewers to click the thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It's free to you, and then you won't miss any of these interviews. And Doug, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure. Never see you often enough, but maybe I'll catch you at Book Carnival over here when you come there and with Ann. I love Ann.
Oh,
And
me too.
yeah, she's a sweetheart. She's been there forever, and what a great store. Um,
Mhm.
so we'll get you back with the next book. And until then, that's wrapped up this show here on Get to Know on the Outliers YouTube and channel and podcast series. And as you know, we will be back with more interviews soon. And until then, keep reading, keep writing, keep having fun. Try not to get caught.